us talking.
I think so. What is up, everybody?
Zach,
Mr. Gabriel, how are you, sir?
hopefully my microphone is working correctly these days, but it has been a wild couple days for myself. Today we're talking about the Avatar, and the first thing I think of is I remember being surrounded at a high school party with people that did not like me at all. All right. So when I was in high school, I didn't know where I fit in, right? Because when I was in school, it was like I played football for like 2 years. So like there's this
What
jocks.
position?
I was running back.
Wow,
So
nice.
yeah, yeah, I could tell you that story too. So yeah, so I think of myself when I'm looking at high schools, like I didn't know where I fit in. Was I part of the jocks, right? Because I played sports, and I didn't really fit in. But I when I would walk into the lunch, you would see these sections of people. So it's like, where do I go? So I was not really a part of them. And then I had some friends, and we would call them, I guess we would call them freaks a little bit, but they had like the huge Janko pants. They had the collars and the chains, and
Oh
like
yeah.
I had a whole bunch of friends like that. And then like you had the stoners like in one area. I knew a bunch of them. And then like the troublemakers. And I was like a part of everybody's group, but I didn't really know where I didn't really identify with one of those people. But I remember one of my good friends, Elliot Munnings, calling me up at senior year. He's like, Michael, we're going to this party. Casey Kennedy. Casey Kennedy throwing a party. I'm like, oh my gosh, Casey Kennedy is one of the cool kids, right? I'm like, we're going to this party, dude. So I remember him picking me up in this Ford Taurus station wagon. It was like green, like the color of our border, right? Like, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, it's his mom's car. Like, he's the only kid I really know who has a car. I'm like, we're going. So we hop in this car, and I've had the same haircut since ninth grade. So even till today. But I remember listening to music. The window was down. It was like, at the end of the school year, right? So like we're just graduating, and I just imagine my hair flowing in the wind, right? Even though I got such a short haircut, and we're going to this party, and it's really just a mile away. But we're coming down the street, and I see cars parked all over the place, and people on the streets and stuff, and walking up to this house. And I remember getting out, thinking I was just the coolest kid going to Casey Kennedy's party. And as I'm walking up to the thing, I see people on the porch and I'm saying hi to them. There are a couple friends like hanging out on the driveway. And he lived on this like long driveway. And at the end was almost like this barn where they're having like this bonfire. So I would go back there. And I remember Casey Kennedy, like as soon as I walked in, he looked at me, he's like, hey, Mike. And I almost felt like we were about to fight because it was like so aggressive that he came up and he like gave me a dab, took my hand. I was like, what's up, man? And I could remember like within 10 minutes, man, I'm looking around and I'm like just surrounded by people that like they didn't like me, I didn't like them, and I was thinking to myself, what am I doing here? Now, how does this relate to business? This relates to business because I remember a point in my business where I served everybody. I didn't care. Like one, I do love to serve in general.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
love to
totally.
help whoever. But I realized that if you don't pick the person you want to serve, they're going to pick you. And if you don't identify that person, you're going to be at a party where you're surrounded by people that may not like you and you may not like them. So today's thing, we are talking about how to choose your avatar so that you're not surrounded by people you don't like.
That is literally the same experience I had without a party, but in business. And it's so critical to do that. I remember shifting from, when I was selling real estate and I had the real estate team, we were doing pretty good and I wanted to grow the business because I'm competitive and it wasn't about money. It was just about being, number one and chasing friends who are ahead of me. So we shifted from a database based business, which the database, as we know, is the most valuable, the most important thing in your business, which is critical, to a marketing based part. And so we kept the database, but the marketing part. And so we started throwing out different MOFers, different USPs that really brought people's attention. We would offer like foreclosures, or we'll sell your house for a price you're happy with, or we'll buy it. And so we're getting the phone to ring with these people. The problem, Michael, was that the way I was throwing it out there wasn't saying like, here are my people. I wasn't nuanced in attracting the kind of people that I worked with. So the same thing happened. So we started doing this. We started selling houses. There's one client, I never forget this guy. This guy was just the worst of the worst. One of the things that's super important to me is people love God, people love their family, and they're just good people. And that I'll talk more about that in just a second. But like, this guy super didn't love God and hated his wife. He was almost like he took joy from making fun of her. And even when she was in the room, which, if you want to piss me off really quick, like, go after, be a bully to someone like that. And like, that really gets me mad. And she got in some sort of accident at work where this big, huge wheel of cheese, she's working at this dairy place. This wheel of cheese fell off a shelf, hit her head, caused her severe injury, in fact, some brain damage. And he makes fun of her for it. And I remember my team, I wasn't working with them directly, but my team goes on, they sell them a house, and we would do these client parties, right? And so at the end of the year, this isn't a high school party, but it's a client party. What I would do is I'd rent out a movie theater, or whatever the cool movie theater is at the end of the year, or the movie, we'd rent it out. I'd buy all the tickets and we'd have these people show up. And I remember going into the theater, and there was the guy that makes fun of his wife, and there was some other people. And I'm like, there's like 10 people in here that I would go to dinner with, and the rest of them I can't stand. And what was funny too is, like, in my business, I had started falling into depression, and I didn't realize this. I was dealing with people that sucked the life out of me, that I didn't like being around, and changing who I was serving, going after like the avatar that I wanted to. I remember I had a business coach. Oh man, she was so awesome. She gave me permission to do this, and I was scared to do this. She's like, you need to blow up your database, cut out the people that you don't like, and only serve the people that you'd go to dinner with. And that was, they loved God, they loved their family, and they wanted to build a big business. Those were the 3 criteria which I picked. In my life changed. I went from, I would have to circle around the office before I could pull myself in to drive in to start calling and working with this database, because I just couldn't stand it, to like, oh my gosh, I'm hanging out with friends. Like, is this even work? Like, I'm going to go show houses, or I'm going to go list a house, and they're like cool people. Like, all right, we got the house listed. What do you want to do? Let's grab a beer, right? And so then we'd go have a beer or whatever, right? And so just super cool people. And it was like you said, I want to serve anybody. However, it's just a lot more fun when you enjoy the people.
Absolutely. And I think, some of the values that you talk about is the things that you want is because the things that are inside of you, right? And they always say like your ideal client is you a few steps ago, right? Or a few
Yeah,
years
totally.
ago. So, when I work with, clients, especially back in the day, when I would ask them, I said, first of all, think about the person that you is your ideal client is like the person that you love the most right now. Like, who is your favorite client right now that you would almost work for free for? And if that's the person, let's build something around them. Now, it's so important from a traffic standpoint when you start understanding these demographics. Is it men? Is it women? Are they 30? Are they 40? Are they, teenagers? Like, wherever you're at, that way I can now take those demographics once we identified them, and I could put them into the machine of Facebook or Google, and I could start literally picking out the people who I want to go after. So I think it's important that once you understand who your ideal client is, that you start building out what they look like, where do they live, where do they go, and I think that's a very a nice segue into something that you wanted to talk about, because once you understand where your audience is, now all you have to do is drop that little hook in there, and you could just go fishing all day.
Totally. Yeah, totally agree. We have a powerful tool that we give away for free 90 free. This is something when we onboard a client that will go in depth on this avatar. It is so important, and there's different types of avatars. Let me touch a little bit on this real quick. What Michael was just talking about, like throwing your hook into a certain pond, those ponds are a version of an avatar too. And we're going to talk more about this. I'm bringing in Chet Holmes, Dream 100, but we'll just at least touch on it a little bit. when we identify our avatar, the person that we want to serve the most, it's really important to define them, get really clear around that. And then instead of coming up with a solution for them, build a relationship with them. One of the things that Michael and I do, because we have this agency that we help local businesses grow, the thing that we've been hearing over and over lately has been one of the issues that a lot of these businesses have had for the last few years is, yeah, they want more leads. Yeah, they want to grow their business. But the big problem right now is they can't find help. They want to find good help. There's a lot of people out there that don't want to work. The horror stories I hear of people hiring somebody and then they don't show up to work because, I don't care. Are you kidding me? Like, it's a different, I don't know, just philosophy on how to work. And so they want to find the right people. So that's one of the things that we help out with. So going back to, we have, if you comment below avatar, we're going to send you an avatar generator. It's really awesome. It'll help you get clarity on it. But I want to talk about that when starting a business, this is the way that you can really, really, truly build a business. This is how I built the Crux Invicta, the e-commerce business, so quickly. We scale it from $0 to $100,000 in sales in 90 days because I really had clarity on the avatar. And I really went after the avatar. And then, just like you were saying, Michael, I knew where to find those people. And so I could throw my hook into that perfect pond. Why? Because that's where my people were congregating. And so if you think about it, you really want 2, if not 3 different avatars domain, or what I would call it more Dream 100. So like the Dream 100 would be, who's the perfect person? Like if you could only serve 100 people, what do they look like and who are they? Start to identify them and actually build out a list, like on a spreadsheet, have your Dream 100 list. And we do this for the different businesses we have. The second one is, where are the sources that these people are congregating? And so if we think about, I'm going to use real estate agents for an example. If we use real estate agents, at Keller Williams, they get together once a year. It's called family reunion. 20,000 of these people, they descend upon family reunion. They're all in the room. These guys are all selling a ton of real estate. If I was going after real estate agents, that's the perfect place to go. Gary Keller leads Keller Williams. If you get Gary Keller to mention your business, that guy is totally in the Dream 100. And so like you would be instantly flooded with business. And so it's important to not only identify your people, but then where are they congregating? Where are the pools, the ponds, like Michael called them, that they're hanging out in, that you can then throw your bait into? Or more importantly, the person that controls that pond, that is the king of the pond. How can you get that person to endorse you or allow you to use their credibility, their rapport to influence those people?
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned the Dream 100, because if they're a big enough influencer from a paid traffic standpoint, I can target that influencer, and then I can target that influencer's followers, right? So once you understand the dynamics or the nuances of your avatar and the person that you want to serve, even down to even maybe the podcasts they listen to or the YouTube channels that they watch, these are all ways that we can use for traffic to make sure that your message is getting to the right person at the right time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I want to reiterate this because a lot of people will skip over this. We work with a lot of businesses. Some of them are well established. I work with people because I have a heart for the new entrepreneur, the startups where they're just getting started. They'll come up like, oh, I got the perfect idea here. This is the better mousetrap. But their people don't want that better mousetrap. It is really important to build a relationship. Some of these ponds that you go fishing in are literally Facebook groups that you go join and you start contributing there. You start just like helping out. You see a question, you answer the question. You start to build the rapport. They know, like, trust, and believe you have the best solution for them. You start to build that rapport, but then you'll also start to here's the actual pain point. When you can find that pain point and you have the solution to it with the rapport with your people, you have a printing press.
I love it. So make sure you, what is it, comment that word avatar, and we will send you what you need.
Absolutely.
Awesome, Zach. Well, so what's next week? What are we going to talk about next week?
I think we should go deeper into the Dream 100. I'm chomping on some
Fun.
cool AI stuff that we've been working on lately that we should address that too. But at the end of the day, the Dream 100 and really attacking this list, like we were talking about, like this is the way empires can be built on the cheap.
All right, guys, you heard it. Stay tuned for the next episode, Dream 100. But right now, pick your avatar. We'll see you guys soon. Comment the word avatar to get your free gift.
Let's go.
All right.